Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a moment that literally electrified the medical and financial worlds. We are talking about Moderna's groundbreaking announcement from August 19th, 2026. Whether you follow biotech obsessively or you're just kind of curious about the future of medicine, this is a story you need to hear. It perfectly merges cutting-edge science with some truly mind-boggling market dynamics. So get ready, because we're going to break down exactly what happened, why it matters so much, and what the big headlines aren't telling you. Okay, let's dive into this. For years, Moderna has had this massive cloud hanging over them, posing one core existential question. You see, they proved that mRNA could become one of the most vital technologies in modern medicine during the pandemic, right? But as demand for those pandemic vaccines plummeted, investors and scientists alike started asking a pretty blunt question. What comes after COVID? The pressure was immense. Moderna desperately needed to prove they weren't just a one-hit wonder. They had to show us that their mRNA platform could tackle other monumental health challenges. And on August 19th, well, they finally delivered an answer. And guys, the market's reaction to that answer was absolutely jaw-dropping. We are talking about a stock surge of over 100% in a single day. At its peak, Reuters reported that Moderna's market value jumped by roughly $40 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. $40 billion added to a company's valuation in the blink of an eye. To put that into perspective, that's roughly equivalent to the entire market cap of a massive corporation like Delta Airlines just appearing out of thin air. So this sets up a really fascinating mystery for us. Why did investors react this violently to the results of a single clinical trial? What exactly did Moderna prove? Section 1. The science. A medical breakthrough. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it defines the treatment behind this breakthrough, which is called intismeran autogene. You'll also see it called V940 or mRNA 4157 in development, and it's being developed in partnership with Merck. But here is the absolute critical takeaway. This is an individualized neoantigen therapy. Honestly, calling this a cancer vaccine kind of gives you the wrong impression. Traditional vaccines are preventative, right? You take them so you don't get sick. But this is a highly personalized treatment designed for a patient who already has cancer. It is custom-built around the specific genetic mutations of that single individual's tumor. Let's walk through exactly how this abstract science translates into a clear biological factory line. It's a six-step process. First up, the patient's tumor is surgically removed. Second, scientists perform a deep genetic analysis on that specific tumor. Third, they identify the neoantigens, basically unique targets or signals that the patient's own immune system might recognize. Fourth, a personalized mRNA treatment is created just for that specific patient. Fifth, the mRNA is administered to literally teach the patient's immune system what to look for. And finally, that newly educated immune system hunts down and targets any remaining cancer cells hiding in the body. It's a stunning, totally bespoke medical process. Section 2. The trial data. Interpath 001 results. So that massive stock surge we talked about, it wasn't based on some theory in a lab. It was based on real-world results from a massive phase 3 study known as INTerpath 001. This trial enrolled 1,137 patients. These were individuals with stage 2B through stage 4 melanoma who had their tumors completely surgically removed, but who are still at a really high risk of the cancer coming back or spreading. Half the group received Merck's established immunotherapy drug, KEYTRUDA. The other half received KEYTRUDA plus Moderna's personalized mRNA therapy. And the trial succeeded by hitting two critical endpoints: recurrence-free survival, which is how long patients remain free from the cancer returning, and distant-metastasis-free-survival, meaning how long they remain free from the cancer spreading to other parts of the body. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds because, this wasn't just an overnight success. It was a carefully progressing clinical hypothesis. A few years ago, in a phase 2B trial called KEYNOTE-942, they saw an initial really promising signal. Fast forward to the 5-year follow-up mark, and that data showed a 49% reduction in the relative risk of recurrence or death. Now keep in mind, that's a relative risk reduction. They aren't claiming 49% of patients were cured outright. But that phase 2 data formed the hypothesis, and the August 19th phase 3 results finally delivered the late-stage evidence proving it in a much larger setting. But hold your horses. Before we declare total victory, we really need to understand exactly what was announced. The market is reacting to a top-line result. We know the treatment met its statistically significant endpoints, which, don't get me wrong, is a massive clinical win. However, we do not yet have the complete dataset. Investors and doctors still don't have the detailed, granular numbers required to understand the absolute magnitude and the long-term durability of the benefit. So we know it works better than KEYTRUDA alone, but we just don't know exactly how much better over the long haul. Section 3. Moderna's real business problem, the need to diversify. And this brilliantly illustrates why this Phase 3 win was so desperately important for Moderna. To truly understand why the market reacted so violently to top-line data, you have to look at the stark financial reality they were facing in the second quarter of 2026. They brought in just $145 million in revenue. Meanwhile, their GAAP net loss was a staggering $782 million, heavily driven by $651 million spent on research and development in just one single quarter. Look, you just can't run a business with that kind of imbalance forever. This instantly communicates why scientific validation beyond COVID wasn't just a nice-to-have. It was urgently needed to justify the company's existence and their massive valuation. Which is exactly why the strategic partnership makes so much commercial sense. Moderna isn't trying to go it alone here. They bring the revolutionary individualized mRNA technology to the table. Merck, on the other hand, brings KEYTRUDA, which is already an established blockbuster cancer drug, along with their massive global oncology infrastructure and decades of regulatory experience. If this combo actually gets approved, Merck provides the ready-made therapeutic ecosystem that Moderna currently lacks. It's basically a perfect marriage of cutting-edge tech and established commercial muscle. Section 4. The bull versus bear case, pricing the future. With that partnership in place, a pretty intense debate has erupted on Wall Street. Analysts are aggressively trying to price in the future of this biotechnology. First up, the bull case. The optimists argue that this trial completely validates personalized mRNA tech. You've got successful Phase 3 endpoints and an incredibly experienced partner in Merck. But the real reason for that $40 billion surge? The bulls believe melanoma isn't the endgame. It's just the proof of concept. If this works for melanoma, investors are betting it could be the foundation for an entire multi-tumor oncology platform, revolutionizing how we treat all kinds of cancers. That's the kind of blue sky potential that sends a stock to the moon. So the crucial point is you have to look at the bear case too. A successful trial does not automatically equal an approved profitable product. The bears are quick to point out that this is still an unapproved therapy. And more importantly, just think about the logistics for a second. Making millions of identical COVID vaccines in massive vats, that's one thing. Creating a custom, personalized manufacturing pipeline for every single individual cancer patient, that's a totally different ballgame. It requires immense time and crazy costs. There are huge regulatory hurdles to clear and major real-world reimbursement challenges. Like, will insurance companies actually pay for a bespoke, highly complex therapy for every single patient? Section 5. Science versus the stock, the valuation disconnect. And this brings us right to the core tension of our entire investigation. When you compare the science to the stock, the valuation problem becomes crystal clear. The science is a fact. The Phase 3 trial succeeded on its announced clinical endpoints. It is, without a doubt, a monumental achievement for medicine. But the stock? Well, that's a different story. The stock price reflects future expectations, and right now it is pricing in a highly optimistic future without having the full commercial data. You see, a stock can easily outpace the verified clinical reality because investors are buying what they think the company will be worth 10 years from now, not what it's actually earning today. So as a focused learner, how do you cut through all the noise? Well, here is your concrete checklist of the 6 things that actually matter next. Number 1, we absolutely need to see the full Phase 3 data to understand the true clinical benefit. Number 2, watch the regulatory discussions closely to see if the FDA plays ball. Number 3, we need long-term overall survival outcomes. Number 4, keep an eye out for additional cancer trial results to see if this truly is a multi-tumor platform. Number 5, watch for proof of manufacturing scalability. And number 6, commercial pricing and reimbursement. These are the fundamental business metrics that actually dictate reality. Which brings us to our final, ultimate question. We know the breakthrough is real, and the science has officially shifted from theory to late-stage validation. But can Moderna actually turn this incredible science into a profitable, sustainable business? The survival of this treatment, and honestly, perhaps the company's massive valuation itself, depends entirely on navigating a brutal journey. It has to make it from the lab bench through the regulatory maze and into real-world hospitals. The science definitely changed the world today, but now we have to wait and see if the business can keep up. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes on that data.